I'm excited to have you here, Lauren. You're a podcast pro at this point, I feel like.
Oh gosh, I'm so surprised by that.
In what way?
I never expected to get into podcasts at all, and so it's funny to me that I have a podcast. It just seemed like the kind of thing. Partly because I don't know how to do anything like on the technical side, so I was like, I'm not going to ever have a podcast.
I don't either. I just pretend like I do.
Yeah, it looks really high tech. I'm very impressed. You have all the buttons and stuff that I'm used to seeing, but I'm just surprised. I mean, I didn't even really know what I was doing when I first started going on Comedy Bang Bang and stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Well, 5 years ago, podcasting wasn't a normal vernacular.
Yeah.
And now it's like a mainstream thing. So obviously you couldn't have planned for something like that.
That's true.
That's the future.
Yeah. How could I know?
Is there anything in your journey we missed that you think was important to you becoming the star of Jurassic World?
No, I don't know. I mean, it's interesting we talked about podcasting for a second. That's been like a whole different like side world that I've been really excited about.
Yeah.
And I've really been thankful for it because I've been able to show my sense of humor through my podcast.
Absolutely.
In a way that I haven't. Like all the roles that I book are typically not. They're typically like sweeter characters, and I don't really play like that. So it's fun to be able to do like what I do on an improv stage in that medium where people can like listen to it anywhere.
Yeah.
So.
And it's not fleeting.
Yeah.
It doesn't disappear.
Yeah.
You're making content.
Right. It does feel like that. Do you feel like that when you're making your show that like it's nice to have like a solid like proof of work?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, I think it's important because then you can point to something, a body of work. I mean, everyone could say they do improv at various venues, but what does that mean? It is hard
in that way because I think so many of us, myself included, you'll rely on that for a long time. We're like, I perform at all these theaters. I do all of these shows, which only really is meaningful when someone can see you and you're good at it.
And a lot of important people can't because they're too busy to go see it.
And so it's nice. And they're probably too busy for my podcast as well. But at least I can go, listen to this segment if you want to hear something funny or whatever. You know, you have like this. And I think people do talk about out here, especially like, making web series, doing your own thing. I think that is very important. Like whether or not it becomes a TV show or something, I think it's really good for people to be making content and finding your voice and what actually entertains you.
For sure. Yeah. And back to rituals. I mean, that is a ritual. You put a podcast out every Friday.
That's true. It feels more like a job, but it's and not in a negative way of like work, but like it does feel like I have to get that out there. But it is a ritual. I mean, I go into the studio, I edit it, I do the thing. So.
Oh, you do?
I mean, I edit, like give them notes of what to cut out.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. I don't always cut anything, but sometimes.
We don't cut anything here at Box Angeles. We just put it out to the presses.
What if I just said, I was going to just say horrible things that you aren't going to cut, but then I realized that would not be cut. So I'm not going to do it.
Wait, so let's talk about that. How did Earwolf approach you about the podcast? Because you had been a guest star multiple times, and then they're like, hey, Lauren.
Yeah, I was like on Comedy Bang Bang and Improv for Humans a bunch around that time, and then Earwolf, some of the guys over there were like, oh, would you like to do your own thing? We're like looking to make some new shows. And I said, yeah, but I didn't know what I wanted to do. I just knew I would like take the opportunity, of course. And then Chris actually helped me come up with the idea because I feel really uncomfortable like hosting.
Yeah.
And I've gotten more comfortable like at ASCAT. I have to host sometimes, and I would always get really nervous if I saw that I was going to have to host. I was like, I don't want to do it.
Don't they usually tell you right before, though?
Well, because like in the email, you'd see like, it's just going to be me and so. Like Besser won't be there. So that means that we have to host or whatever.
Okay.
Like you could see, there's like a hierarchy.
Yeah.
And so you can see who's going to have to host based on who's coming or whatever.
Right.
And so I would get nervous because it was my first time really doing that. And they do like a lot of crowd work and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to do it. And so that was around that time when I got this podcast and I was like, I hate hosting. And Chris was like, well, you should be the guest or whatever. And that way you don't have to host. And so he's really smart. But so, yeah. And I do feel much more, I think just from everything culminating together, I feel much more comfortable like hosting now. Like it doesn't make me nervous and I don't care if it's not funny and I don't, I'm not really worried about it.
Yeah.
But I did used to freak out over that. So the podcast came out of that.
So did they just say, hey, Lauren, you're great. We want 50 episodes or what?
Yeah, it was like they signed, I signed a contract for 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Kind of with
They're
the idea that,
down.
well, yeah, it's kind of loose. Like if I had to stop for any reason, they're very understanding. But I'm really trying to fulfill the contract. I'd like to do 2 years.
That'd be great.
Yeah, it's coming up on a year-ish, probably 8 months now or something. I don't know. It's been a while. Yeah,
I just applied for an Earwolf job.
You did?
Yeah, I wanted
to be an engineer.
No, customer support. I believe customer happiness rep.
Hey, that'd be great.
I know, right? I feel like I'd be perfect.
You would be great.
I talked to Sachs, your CEO, and Northwestern alum.
Oh
Adam
my
Sachs.
gosh, I forgot that he was. I knew that
about it, but I haven't heard anything.
Well,